for people that don't believe, I think there's just the average person, just because of their experiences and their upbringing, the beliefs are really held back. There's a low ceiling on their expectations for their lives. You busted through that.
I've always believed that genius is simplicity, and so we don't need to make things harder than they really are. We knew the outcome when we started. It's one of the principles that I have in Larger Than Life in pursuit of discovering your full potential. Begin with the end in mind.
Hey, and welcome to Christ-Centered Podcast. So excited. I've got my best friend since I was a kid. We used to wrestle together, played football together, and now he's a world-famous, best-selling author, Brett Penager. Welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thank you, Dr. Ben. It's great to see you, and I am honored to be here. I'm super excited to be able to share and serve your audience.
So Larger Than Life, that's the new book. That's what I want people to hear about. So, obviously I got to see this from the time we were kids. You and I both always felt that God had something larger than life for us, that you could look around and we could look at 1,000 other people, but we felt he had more for us. And so tell us a bit about the inspiration. I think I get it, but tell the world about it.
You bet. Ever since we were kids, Ben, so I'm just going to talk like it's you and I right here to an audience. You're absolutely right. We knew that as crazy as it seemed at that time, that we were up to something that God had anointed us with the vision together, two kids from different mothers to do something magnificent in the world. Fast forward, failing successfully, working with you, and then moving on to start another chiropractic firm in the space. I tell you what, everything that we put in motion as we were children is now coming to fruition as adults. And the book, Larger Than Life in Pursuit of Discovering Your Full Potential, is a synopsis of that. It's a picture of what it looks like to put yourself in a position to not define yourself as larger than life. I'll go into the definition of that. But to do something that's extraordinary by any measure that impacts lives in a positive way of humanity and the world in which we live and serve.
So you had said something a moment ago. I don't know if people caught it. You said, failing forward, or just that you're failing successfully. So the thought, of course, as we sat there, whether it was in the wrestling room or the sauna or sitting in the hot tub trying to lose weight, whatever we were doing, and as we thought about this amazing, successful future, I don't think at the time we thought, starting with lots of ups and downs, some brutal pain throughout the process, tragic endings to some things. Like, I don't think we thought of it that way, but that is this journey up. Share a little bit about that, because, maybe there's some younger doctors, younger people out there listening thinking, yeah, it's just a straight line up, and that certainly wasn't the case.
I think us as human beings, we get so attached to the oxytocin, if you want to call it, or the thrill of victory and the joy of getting things that we like, that we associate life being only applicable and fun when that happens. And the fact of the matter is life is like the seasons. God has put together this earth and everything in it for us, so that we can learn from it, not just through the word, but also through the way that life operates. And so if you love the summer and you don't like the winter, there's no place that you're going to go where there's not winter. And so being able to understand both the good and the bad and the high and the lows, and most of it is perspective, allows us to, in my opinion, become larger than life, because we don't just become attached and infatuated with it's only okay when it's good. And so many of the things that I've gone through that you're well aware of have been challenging by any definition. The loss of parents, the loss of jobs, the loss of income. And if we get really set on looking at that as, oh my gosh, it's over, I don't have any more opportunity, I guess I'll never be in love again, whether it's a divorce, which I've also experienced, that I know you have also, then we give up the actual gifts that God places for us in the challenges that are created for us, so that we can then live into the magnificence that He has endowed us with and put us in as individuals, because we have to go through the challenges in order to get the rewards. And we've had a lot of that. Again, as I've shared, from divorces to near bankruptcy to not having enough money to put gas in the car and having to walk home. I mean, all of the things that most would look at as terrible are just part of the process, because the victory is so sweet and worth it.
Amen. Yeah, I moved to Florida. I didn't want any winters, but metaphorically, there's still winter. One of the things that you've obviously accomplished is you were a co-founder of what's become the largest privately held chiropractic organization in the history of our profession, and that's saying something, especially in a day now for people that aren't aware. Venture capital, the public markets are investing millions, billions of dollars into chiropractic, and you guys became the largest. And that's starting just, again, simple beginnings. You and I became friends in our lower middle class communities, in our very modest houses. You think even where we lived, not to bring up the city, but it was a poor city, that most people wouldn't want to live in. I don't know that there was a rich part of town. I think it was just poor parts of town. And yet you've come from that to be part of a huge organization. So, for people that don't believe, I think there's just the average person, just because of their experiences and their upbringing, whether they realize it or not, they're constrained by these experiences, and the beliefs are really held back. There's a short ceiling, there's a low ceiling on their expectations for their lives. You busted through that. Share about that.
You bet. I tell you, I've always believed that genius is simplicity, and so we don't need to make things harder than they really are. I honestly have to say, as challenging as it was in many respects, we knew the outcome when we started. And so it's one of the principles that I have in Larger Than Life, in pursuit of discovering your full potential. Begin with the end in mind. Visualize yourself already there. When we came together, after I moved here to Chicago and continued in the chiropractic space, and then we decided to work together as two different organizations, and we came together to form Chiro One, what's known as Chiro One today. When we did that, we were very clear on what our objectives were. We didn't know how we were going to do it. We didn't know, we didn't have this roadmap in front of us. But the whole purpose was to dominate the city of Chicago and greater Chicago. And to do that, we knew we'd need 42 clinics around the entire city, so that we could then have an office location that's either by where somebody worked or where they lived. And from there, we just really ruminated on that. We prayed about it. We visualized it. We saw it. And then we just went to work and doing it. So were there challenges along the way? Yes, that's going to be the case. But when you're fixated on an outcome that you're looking for, and you believe and know that you can do it, and you put in the system so that you have accountability in order to execute on it, then it's just a matter of when and not if. And that's where we operated. So, we like to look at it this way. Yes, we have the largest privately held organization in the world to date, but what we really want is global, not domination, but global impact. And so we might be the tallest short person in the United States, or the tallest short person comparative to chiropractic, but I look at comparing chiropractic to an Apple or a Microsoft or a Google, something that has a global impact. So we barely scratched the surface of what's possible, and we just wanted to be an example that others can follow, because I know there's some groups out there that are chasing us down. And I'm like, come on, bring it, baby, because all that means is a rising tide raises all ships. And so the more chiropractic firms that succeed, the more patients are served, and the more chiropractic can serve humanity in the act of it.
Yeah, and I've gotten a chance to be at some of your conferences when you would have the all team and get a chance to hear how you communicated with your whole staff. And there's some subtleties in some of the things you've said, because again, as a chiropractor, like I got out of school and thought, I want to have this one marginally successful practice. That was the goal, is that I could bring my one practice to 100 a week, take home a couple $100,000 a year. I'd be 5 times more successful than my dad ever dreamed of being. And, I'd be wealthy, 6-figure, earner, I'd be doing great. And then as the practice took off, that was still dangerous because I was comparing myself to other chiropractors. So like, wow, look at the chiropractors in my community, or even most of the ones I know in my profession. I'm amazing. I'm doing better than them. But the distinction I want people to have heard from what you were saying is, I remember when I was speaking at the All Team, you were specifically talking about the 100th monkey principle, that we're looking for this tipping point where Chiro One is known worldwide. We've made a global impact. Apple's a great example, because there was a point where, they had only reached a small percent of the world, yet the whole world knew who they were. And in fact, a lot of the devices that we use today are simply known by, like the iPad is we look at any product that's shaped like that and call it an iPad, which is just the brand name of Apple's product. So talk about being a brand leader or a leader in your industry. That's how you guys looked at it. So that subtle distinction going from, I want to just be a success, to we're going to impact the world. We're going to change the lives of millions. We're going to do something bigger than anybody's done before. I remember early on hearing you talk about becoming a $1 billion organization. And even that hit my brain. We were trying to, with my organization, we wanted to get to 50 million. And you're talking about $1 billion. And so that perspective kept expanding. So, talk a little bit more about that, because those subtleties can transform a man.
A good friend of mine and a good friend of chiropractic, big time, Dr. John DeMartini, would always say it this way: if you want to have a state impact, you need to think nationally. If you want to have a national impact, you need to think globally. If you want to have a global impact, you need to think astronomically. And so the level at which you're thinking, the level at which you aspire, is going to impact the level at which you actually provide results that then show the intention of what you're up to. For us, we took a lot of time to get very clear on our why. And our why wasn't about making money. Our why wasn't about being a brand that everybody knew. Our why wasn't about being the biggest, name in chiropractic. Our why and our vision that all human beings discover their full potential became something that pulled and drove us, and still does today. And when you say all human beings, I'm not kidding. Right now we have 8.2 billion human beings on planet Earth and growing. And so even though we've impacted millions, we haven't even hit the billion level. And I'm talking about raising the tide for chiropractic entirely. Again, a rising tide raises all ships. And so what we set out to do, we have not come close to accomplishing yet. We've had some great benchmarks, we've had some great things, and we want to take everyone with us again and have those chase us and pass us. Man, I'd love that, because that means more and more people are going to be impacted by the practice of chiropractic and what our doctors of chiropractic can provide through their hands and through instrumentation that changes the trajectory of life. And when you back that into that all human beings discover their full potential, we just happen to use chiropractic as a way to demonstrate that, because we know that when you're healthy and your nervous system is operating as it should, and you're living fully express, then you're going to impact not only yourself, but your family, your communities, your state, your nation, your country, and the world at large. The only problem is not enough people know that.
Amen. Yeah, and that's, when Dr. Schiffman and I pray, my partner, Christ-Centered Chiropractic, it's for the whole profession. It's to bring the whole profession together, to amalgamate us, to make us stronger, to make chiropractic the head, not the tail. Having a mindset that I know you guys have had. I've even talked to Stu, one of your co-founders, would say that all the moves you're making are for the good of the entire profession and the entire world. That when you start to operate at that level, incredibly large things happen. So in any prayer I'm involved in with the people that I want to hang around with, we're thinking of the world. And so, of course, when we're talking about growing a practice, I'm like, well, if you're trying to save the world, how could the practice not be huge? Like that's virtually impossible. But if you're just thinking about the practice, then you're constrained by your four walls. Last thing I want to ask you. So one thing maybe not everybody knows, and you know, one of my missions in life is that more people knew this, is that you and certainly your wife, Stephanie, one of the most amazing people in the world. Just thank you for bringing her into my life by marrying her. She's such a blessing to my family and just me personally. One of the best thing you've done. That's probably one of your crowning achievements in terms of larger than life. There should be a chapter on that. But but at any rate, the one thing you two did, and I know you started this, is created the greatest marketing practices in the history of chiropractic. I mean, you rewrote the book on marketing and have brought in more new patients. And we all should be thankful, not just those that are involved in Chiro One, but we all should be incredibly thankful for the amount of people you've brought to chiropractic. I mean, it's got to be millions at this point over the years that you've been there. I'd love for you to share a little bit about, what you built and the numbers of people you've impacted and how you got so many people in, and what drove you all. Because I know you led thousands to bring in millions. Like, what drove all of you thousands to being so committed to saving lives like that?
The vision. That all human beings discover their full potential, and knowing that the only distinction between someone being able to have the knowledge to execute on it was having the knowledge. And so we just wanted to put in motion what I learned from you and what I've learned from some of the greatest chiropractors in history prior, is that if the people don't know what we do and how it works, then there's no opportunity for them to actually come in. And so what we built was actually very simple. We just built a way to intersect with businesses, with our community, wherever human beings are at. And we formalized putting together a marketing machine that could intersect traffic, guerrilla marketing 101, the classic screenings that many of us are familiar with in the chiropractic profession, to educate our community on what chiropractic is, how it impacts them, and then to give them the option to go into an office. We did that in almost literally, starting in Chicago, almost every building that's here, whether it be residential, whether it be business, whether it be a hospital, whether it be a school, whether it be a first responder, a fire department, a police department, wherever is a group of people, we wanted to get in front of them so we could educate them on the impact of having a healthy spine and nervous system as it impacted their health. And so I know it should be harder than it is, but the fact of the matter is we were able to build a team that could clearly see the importance of the education. They had the experience of chiropractic themselves and knowing how it really helped their health and well-being. And so it really isn't that hard to go out and share something that you know with all of your heart, with your experience, the impact that it has. And as you also know, and everybody listening to this, sometimes it looks to be miraculous. And as a doctor of chiropractic, and I've seen it more times than I can shake a stick at, we become numb to the miracles that we create in the lives of patients, because they're like, oh my God, doc, I couldn't walk. Now I can. It's like, oh, good job. Power's on. Next.
Yeah, we become numb to it.
Well, when you see that, and especially when it's outside of chiropractic, our marketing team, our people that we train into understanding it, then it just becomes why wouldn't you do this? It's almost like a crime to not go out and share the good word so that other people can benefit. So anyway, we're really excited about it. We've driven at this point in literally over a 20-year span now, millions of patients. We're in 14 states now with 164 offices and counting. And again, just scratching the surface of where we know we need to go to raise the tide for everyone.
And when you guys have come into an area, I've encouraged, we talk a lot about a peace that surpasses all understanding at Christ-centered chiropractic. But when you guys come in the area, I say it's time to panic. You guys got to get out there, or they're going to take over your town if you don't get off your tail and go get into some places. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say Uh, at one level, perhaps, but on a more real level, there's no competition. Like, there's no competition. And I really want everyone that's listening to this to get it. No matter where you go, there are more people than there are chiropractors that do not know about the services that are available to them. And so, no matter where you're at, if you're in a town of 10,000, if it's that small and you have 3 chiropractors, that means each one of you have 3,300 patients that can be in your doors. And if you look at it like that, then you're like, where's the competition? If I have a couple hundred in my doors, that means I still have, 3,100 yet to go just for my 1/3, and that's if we distribute them equally. So if you just look at the laws of abundance, and I know you teach this big time through Christ-centered chiropractic, and understanding that the world is full of abundance. And if you can take that lid off and you can look at it that way, then all of a sudden there's no competition. You just have to get out there and have confidence in what you're doing, communicate it, and people will follow. It's a classic field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And that's what we put in motion. And so we also know that a lot of what we've done supports other chiropractors wherever we're at, because people might not want to come to Chiro One, but they go, wow, this chiropractic thing, I didn't know that. But I have a friend of mine who, and I bet you we filled, another 1,000,000+ patients in other offices that we don't even know about based on the work that we're doing on raising the tide for all.
Yeah, and back to belief, it just comes from the absolute fact and just the faith in the reality that every single person needs chiropractic from birth to the grave, or for as long as they want to be healthy. That if there's 10,000 people, those are 10,000 patients, not fighting for the 200 with a migraine headache. So tell us about your book. So how do we get a hold of it? How do we follow you? How do we learn more?
Sure. So the name of my book, Be Larger, or Larger Than, I got Be Larger Than is my website, belargerthan.com. But my book, Larger Than Life in Pursuit of Discovering Your Full Potential, was written based on our own experiences, Ben. Just the trajectory and the path of what it looks like to excel at really high levels. I'm a big proponent that it is learnable by any human being who wants to be larger than life and fully express themselves. My definition for that is a human being living fully expressed in pursuit of discovering their full potential and what lights them up, which happens to be principle number 1. And so you can find it on Amazon, you can find it on Audible, you can find it on Kindle as an ebook version, and about every manifestation that you can read, we have access to it or listen to it. And the whole intention of it is to support and provide the learnable distinctions at a very simple level that anybody can apply for their own lives so that they can produce extraordinary results measurably that impact not just their lives but the world. One of the most beautiful things about it, and it's one of the last chapters in the book, Be Grateful for the Journey, is recognizing that a lot of times we think victory is going to be when we reach a specific target that we have. Oh man, when I serve this many patients, when I make this much, gross revenue, when I accomplish these titles, then I'm going to be happy, and then it's going to be successful, and then it's going to be great. And oftentimes we get there and we go, now what? Like, is there something else that I can do? Well, larger than life means that we're looking at taking our lives past our lifetime. One of the great lessons that I learned from a Tony Robbins seminar that I had gone to is learning how to set goals that go past your lifetime. So that means no matter how long you live, you're still working, you're still being productive on producing something, not out of tiredness, but out of inspiration, knowing that it's going to live far past your lifetime, but you're putting it in motion. And you reach that point where you take that baton and you start passing it forward for others to take what they've learned, just like the greats in our profession have done, whether it be a Reggie Gold or a B.J. Palmer or Dee Dee Palmer or a recent Guy Reekman who just recently passed. So all of those are titans upon which we stand on their shoulders, and they have become larger than life to us, and you become larger than life to the people that you impact. And all the book does is walk you through a progression of exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it, so that you can do that and serve humanity that only you can.
Awesome. Well, thanks for writing it. I read it. It's a great read for those who haven't. It's fun. And but yeah, definitely makes your life bigger and better. So appreciate you for finally writing it. You started writing books 30 years ago, and it finally came out. So this is a lifetime achievement.
Amen. Amen.
Well, bless you, everybody. Appreciate you for watching and listening. Share this with someone you love, and remember who you are.